Daniel lay in bed, the dim light casting shadows on the walls. After retiring from his job as a school teacher a couple of years ago, he felt like he was drifting through life numb and without direction. He glanced at the dream catcher his younger brother had given him that day, a simple circle of beads and feathers. A gift heavy with unspoken words. But Daniel hadn't dreamt in years. He no longer saw the point. The weight of the years had taken that away, leaving only the quiet hum of routine. That night, as he closed his eyes in bed, the dream catcher above him began to sway gently in the breeze. Daniel awoke in a glowing, unfamiliar hallway, its walls resembling the corridors of his old school, but strangely distorted. In his hand, he found the dream catcher, now holding a small, ornate key dangling from its threads. A soft hum filled the air as he looked ahead at 3 doors, each marked with a strange symbol. Hesitant but curious, Daniel took the key from the dream catcher, unlocked a door, and stepped through. A tranquil garden stretched before him, where a small tree struggled to grow. Beside it, a gardener crouched, his weathered hands working with precision to remove stones tangled around its roots. "Ah, you're here," the gardener said without looking up. "Do you see this tree? It looks alive, but its roots are suffocating." Daniel frowned. "What does that have to do with me?" The gardener looked up and handed him a small trowel. "Your body is like this tree. It carries you, but you've neglected its foundation. Help me remove the stones. When you clear what hinders it, it can thrive again. Remember," the gardener said, "tend to your body as you would a sacred garden. Move it, feed it, and it will reward you." The garden blurred, and Daniel found himself back in the hallway. Tentative but drawn by an unshakable pull, Daniel approached the second door and stepped through. The second door opened into a warm, inviting room filled with soft light and the calming scent of lavender. At the far end of a long table, a woman with a kind face sat knitting, 2 chairs set side by side near her. "Please, take a seat," she said, gesturing to one of the chairs. As Daniel sat down, the photos dimmed, a layer of dust settling over them. "You used to bring joy to so many people. What happened?" the woman said gently. Daniel looked at the pictures, guilt mixing with a pang of longing. "I don't want to bother anyone. Everyone's busy with their own lives." The woman handed him a cloth. "These memories, these connections, they've been neglected. But with care, they can shine again." Hesitant at first, Daniel began wiping the photos, one by one. As he worked, the images brightened. Friends laughing, family embracing, moments of joy he'd forgotten. When he finished, the woman smiled. "Nurture your relationships, Daniel. They will nurture you in return." Warmth filled his chest as he looked at the now vivid pictures. Back in the hallway, his heart felt fuller, the air around him heavy with unspoken promises. He turned to the third door and stepped through. Daniel found himself in a quiet, dimly lit room. An elderly samurai sat cross-legged on a worn mat. Beside him, a blunt sword rested on the ground. "What's wrong with the sword?" he asked. The samurai's gaze lingered on the blade. "Like this sword, a life without purpose becomes dull." Daniel hesitated. "I thought I knew my purpose, but now I feel lost." "You must sharpen your life," the samurai replied, his voice firm. "Without purpose, even the strongest blade grows weak." He handed Daniel a whetstone. Nervously, Daniel took the stone and began to move it along the edge of the blade. With each careful stroke, the sword began to glisten, the metal coming alive under his touch. "Purpose," the samurai said, "is like this blade. It must be refined. When you nurture it, your life will shine again. This is what it means to find your Ikigai." Daniel awoke to sunlight streaming through his window, the dream catcher swaying gently overhead. His body felt lighter, his heart fuller, and his mind sharp with newfound clarity. 3 months had passed since that fateful dream, and Daniel's life had blossomed in ways he never imagined. He had started taking morning walks, joined a local gardening club, and reconnected with old friends. It was during one of those club meetings that he met Emma, a warm and spirited woman who shared his love for tending to flowers. Together, they found joy in nurturing not just gardens but each other's company. As Daniel watched the sun set one evening, he smiled with a newfound certainty. Age, he realized, was never a barrier to living a life full of passion and happiness. It was merely a reminder to cherish every moment. If you enjoyed this video, you might love this next one too.